Good afternoon, students. Welcome to the new semester of fifth semester of computer engineering. Today we are going to start a new subject, that is introduction to .NET. So in this subject we have already learned so many programming languages. These languages are C, C++. In C there are some drawbacks which are covered in C++, and later on the next higher versions of each and everything is developed. So in C we are learn as C is a procedural language and C++ is a object oriented programming language. After that VB comes. In case of VB, that is Visual Basic, the concept of graphical user interface come into mind, and then the controls are available. With the help of that we can develop applications for Windows based applications. Later on, when the trends going on, the .NET framework comes into the market. So today we are going to cover some topics that are I am going to provide the introduction about the .NET. First of all, we are going to cover introduction to client server architecture, then introduction to .NET framework, then features of .NET framework, why we use .NET framework to develop applications, then which is the architecture and what are the components, different components of architecture of .NET. Then Common Language Runtime. Common Language Runtime provides the execution procedure for the .NET applications. Then Common Type System. Common Type System is something similar to the data types in C, C++ and VB. And next, Common Language Specification. Common Language Specification provides the rules to develop the applications in the .NET. And then Microsoft Intermediate Language. Microsoft Intermediate Language is the source code is firstly converted into the IL, that is in the binary language code. Whenever the JIT compilation occurs, then that IL code is converted into the native code and the execution is done. Then is just in time compiler. So let us start with the first concept of the .NET, that is client server architecture. As we already know, in networking system there is a one server and the different clients are attached to that server. Whenever a client requires to execute a procedure, a request is client sends a request to the server. When server receive a request, then he respond to that request. In case of client server architecture, our motive is to centralize the whole of the database onto the one computer, and the different clients can access the data, update the data on that computer from different terminals. As in case of computer networks, each computer is connected to the different each computer is connected to the one or more than one computers, and then each computer can communicate, share the data and transfers the files between that. In case of client server architecture, as we already know that the web applications or website, you only sends the request to the server, then server responds, then you can log in Yahoo and all that. So that database is stored in somewhere else. That database is not stored on your computer. Then that computer is client, and the database where is saved is known as server. So it started as PCs become more powerful, as PCs were no longer dumb terminals. So provided an open and flexible environment. Open and flexible environment, a person is sitting in Amritsar or a person is sitting in Patiala or a person is sitting in Chandigarh can access the same source file through the internet or through the networking sites. So if the server is available, a person can sitting in Amritsar can access the files, perform the executions. A person is sitting in the Chandigarh can access the file and perform the information and all that. And client server architecture is considered as a form of distributed software, where the various servers, as the Yahoo server is located in Bangalore or somewhere else, Then again the Yahoo server is if our north region is somewhere else. So these database is distributed among that servers, and the all other clients can access from that nearby servers. So what are the characteristics of client server architecture? That is, client server is computing architecture which separates a client from a server. Server where the database is saved, and client which is accessing that database. It is almost always implemented over a computer network. That is, server, all the clients and computer must be connected through some media, either it is fiber optical or twisted pair optical. And the most basic type of client server architecture employs only two types of nodes. One is client and second one is server. So this type of architecture in which there is one client and one server is known as two-tier architecture. In case of two-tier architecture, it allows devices to share files and resources all over. Server provides the services. What are the characteristics of the client server distinct? Client is considered as customer requesting the service. As if we take an example on daily life, we go to the market, particular shop, then we request the shopkeeper for something. Then at that time we are client, and the shopkeeper is providing us a service. In the similar way, in the client server architecture, a computer, a node which sends the request is known as client, and the which serves the services is known as service. So the server service can be shared among a number of clients. At the same time, the number of clients can send their request to the server. Clients must request or initiate the service. Initiate the service. Every server can initiate the service when he responds to their client's request. So the location of the server in the network is transparent to the clients. Transaction between client server is message passing based. Message passing based, already said that client sends a request to the server that he wants to transfer some information. Then server, when it gets free, he responds to that request. Then the message passing based transactions can be performed. So in case of client server architecture is scalable. We can develop client server architecture in two types, that is horizontally and vertically. When we construct that in horizontally, then more clients can be added, and when we construct at vertically, then more servers can be added at the end. The server is centrally maintained, whereas clients are independent of each other. So here is an example. Here there is a one server and two different clients. That one server is connected to two clients through a network. So there are different type of servers available in the client server architecture. Number one is file servers. The purpose of the file servers is to sharing and file processing. Then it comes database servers. As we already know what is database, and then passing the file request, for example query in DBMS servers, for example insert query, update query and all that. And then the transaction servers include DBMS and transaction monitoring. Server has remote procedure run online by the client. So, and last one is web servers, which provides the websites access. So these are super fat servers and thin clients. The servers are located on the different locations, and there are clients attached to that particular server. Then to transfer the information, they uses the HTTP protocol, that means hypertext protocol. So Java was the first to introduce between the client server architecture forms. Let's come to the introduction to the .NET framework. So what is .NET framework? Microsoft .NET is a software component that runs on Windows operating system. We can install .NET framework only on the Windows operating system, either on Windows 7 or Windows XP servers, Service Pack 2. So .NET provides tools and library that enable developers to create Windows software much faster and easier. So in case of .NET framework, there are already number of built-in classes and assemblies and interfaces which enables a user to create a Windows software faster and easier. It helps creating applications by integrating different programming languages, C#, Visual Basic, J#, etc. So it is the one of .NET framework is only the one platform where we can develop applications in different languages, either in Visual C#, Visual Basic, J#, in ASP.NET. Means there is only one platform. You can write an application, develop an application in any language and execute it on the same platform. So what are the features of the .NET framework? The first feature is interoperability. Interoperability relates to that if we are going to develop if one user is going to develop an application in C# and one user is going to develop an applications in VB.NET, then the .NET framework provides the intercommunication between these two applications through different types of objects. Means we can develop an application in any language which supports by .NET framework. That applications can be directly used by any other language. So next one is Common Language Runtime Engine. Common Language Runtime Engine is basically core execution engine of the .NET framework. Common Language Runtime, all the codes which are developed in different applications can be executed on the single platform, that is Common Language Runtime. And next one is language independence. In case of .NET framework, if we have created an object in C#, but we want to use that object of C# into VB.NET, then we can use directly through communication media. So because these are on the .NET framework, same platform developed, we can communicate. We can even the VB.NET, we can, if we want to develop a web application, we can develop by C# programming, we can develop by VB.NET programming, and we can develop it by ASP.NET programming language. So next one is base class library. In case of base class library, there are thousands of classes which are predefined, and these classes can be used by any programming language to develop their applications. We can directly locate these classes through objects, and their functions can be performed. So next one is simplified deployment. What does deployment means? If we have developed an application on one PC, we can easily install that application on another PC without need of the .NET framework or any prerequisites. And improved security. As we all know, in C, the security is very poor, and C++ objects are created to provide the security to the data. And in case of .NET framework, there are various ways in which we can improve the security of the applications developed by the users. And next one is portability. Portability, we can easily install once application developed in some PC to another application and executed it. These all features are in previous versions. In latest version, there comes a parallel computing process. In case of parallel computing, if single computer can perform multiple tasks parallelly on the same platform within the same time spans. And in the higher versions, there is as we already know, Common Language Runtime. They provide a dynamic language runtime, that is which can be available when we provide the execution to an application. And last one is manage extensibility framework. Whether we can create new features in our framework. So, overview of .NET Framework release history. So, the first version that comes into the market in 2002 to 30, that is Visual Studio .NET, and then 1.1, that is Visual Studio .NET 2003, that is based on the Windows Server 2003. Then the versions come 2.0, which is a Visual Studio 2005, and Windows based, we can install that on Windows Server 2003. Then comes the 3.0, that is Expression Blend, that can be installed on Windows Vista, Windows Server 2008. And next version is, which is most latestly used by, that is 3.5 and 4.0 and 4.5. In case of 3.5, we can install that on Windows 7, Windows Server 2008. And 4.0, that is Visual Studio 2010, is also installed on Windows 7 and Windows Server 2008. 4.5 is basically on the Windows 8 and Windows Server latest version coming to market. So, let us discuss with the .NET Framework architecture. Actually, what it contains, how it processes their information. In case of .NET Framework, includes components of .NET Framework 2.0, 3.0, and few additional features of enhancement. So, if we consider the .NET Framework architecture, the first concept comes into mind, that is operating system, because .NET Framework only develops on the Windows operating system. So, Windows operating system must be Windows 8, Windows 7, Windows XP, Service Pack 2, and etc. So, next, when we start, first comes the concept of component of Common Language Runtime, which is the main execution engine which provides the execution to the application. Then comes the .NET Framework base class library, that is inbuilt classes which are directly used by the user to develop their applications. Then Windows forms are used to develop the Windows based applications or graphically user interface application. Then comes the language, that is ASP.NET. The full form of ASP is Active Server Pages. Active Server Pages .NET is basically designed to develop the web applications. Then console as command line. Console is something command line arguments as we provide in C and C++. Then ADO.NET. ADO.NET stands for ActiveX Data Objects.NET, which helps to provide the communication between database and front end of the applications. Then again comes .NET Framework class library, common type system, which are supported by all languages, similar type, that is data types, integer, all that. Then Common Language Specification. Common Language Specification provides the set of rules and basic concepts to be executed, to be understood during the development of an application. Then it supports the different programming languages such as C#, VB.NET, Visual C++, etc. So, it is the first version, that is where the architecture comes, that is of 2.0. In 2.0, all these components are worked. Then, if we consider some higher versions, then comes Windows Presentation Foundations. Windows Presentation Foundation is used to develop the presentation based applications. And next comes to Windows Communication Foundation. Windows Communication Foundation is basically to develop the application which are installed on one and can be accessed by other as client server architecture. Then Windows Workflow Foundation and Windows Card Space. Windows Card Space basically used for the security reason, which are explained later on. These all components are of the version 3.0 .NET Framework architecture. Next comes some more components, that is Link, ASP.NET 3.5, ADO.NET, and additional enhancement. Then it comes to the architecture, that is of version 3.5. Then what are the components of .NET Framework are? CLR, that is Common Language Runtime, .NET Framework Class Library, Common Language Specification, that is CLS, CTS Common Type System, Metadata and Assemblies, Windows Forms, ASP.NET, ASP.NET Ajax, ActiveX Data Objects for .NET, ADO.NET, Windows Workflow Foundation, Windows Presentation Foundation, Windows Communication Foundation, and Windows Card Space Handling. Let us start with the .NET Framework Class Library. In case of .NET Framework Class Library, it consists of classes, interfaces, and value types. So it helps up speeding up the development of the processes. As the sum of the classes are predefined, we can use directly them in our applications. So we need not to develop these classes and their objects, how these interfaces can be provided. So provides access to system functionality, easily assess the functionality of the .NET framework, represents base data types and exceptions. As we already know what are data types. Data types basically provides the information which type of the value to be stored, where the value to be going to be stored, and what is the range of the each and every data type, every variable. So these represent base data types and exception. Similar data types can be used in VB.NET, in C# and ASP.NET. Then encapsulate data structure. As we already know, classes can encapsulate the data, that is data and functions are working together in classes. And so here data structure, different data structure can be encapsulated in one class. Performs input output operations, as we know, C in, C out, or something else. So assess information about loaded types. All the information which are already loading, loaders can assess the informations. Call .NET Framework security checks. At different levels, security checks can be provided in the .NET Framework class. So here is some examples of .NET Framework Class Library. Number one is system. System is a namespace. Namespace is a collection of different similar type of classes. So if we consider first class, that is system.web. System.web basically provides the services like UI, HTML control, web controls. As I already know, by the name of web, we can understand it is used for developing web application. Next one is systems.windows form. Systems.windows form basically designed to create the Windows based applications where component model is required. Then system.data. System.data basically provides the linkage between the system, that is OLEDB, that is SQL client, object linking environment database is used to connect with the SQL client, and etc. Next one is system.drawing. Drawing for the printing, text, imaging purpose. System.xml to create the XML documents. And system is a collection of similar type of classes in one, and it is known as namespace. So then next topic comes, that is Common Language Runtime. That is, it is the core of the .NET framework. It provides a robust and secure execution environment, and it supports multiple languages and simplifies application deployment and management. Means a CLR can run the code of application which is written in C# or VB.NET or in J#, in any other language. So what are the different steps in CLR? First of all, when we write an application or develop an application, then that code becomes a source code of the program. That source code is compiled by the language compiler. Language compiler, if the VB.NET, if the application is developed in VB.NET, then the compiler of VB.NET is executed. If the application developed in C#, then the compiler of C# is executed. What is the purpose of? Basically the purpose of compiler is to convert the source code into machine code. But in case of CLR, language compiler can convert the source code into the MSIL and metadata. MSIL stands for Microsoft Intermediate Language, which is in the binary form but not fully in the machine code. And what is metadata? Which stores the data about data. Metadata contains each and every data or each and every entry of an variable, which variable is used, when it is assigned a value, which class is used, which function is used, each and every is stored in a metadata. So after that, class loader. What is the purpose of class loader? Whatever classes are used in our source code, these classes can be provided by the class loader to the application. And then comes the assembly loader. Whatever the assembly, whichever the assembly is used in the source code can be provided by the assembly loader. Then the IL verification and IL validation is performed. IL verification, that is intermediate language verification, whether the code is executed, whether the classes or its functions are executed or performed or called successfully, each and everything is explained. So when IL and verification and IL validation done, then it comes to a portable executable file. Portable executable file basically contains all the information, all the source code into binary code, plus it's all the assembly values, metadata values in one file. So when we firstly executed an application in .NET framework, it starts from the source code. When next time we are going to execute the same application, then it starts from the portable executable file, not from the source code. So next comes just-in-time compiler. The just-in-time compiler does, it converts the IL and metadata value and portable executable value to the native code. Native code is a code which is directly executed by the computer, and then we reach out our output. So next come that is just-in-time compiler. It converts the MSIL, that is Microsoft Intermediate Language code, into the native code, which is a fully machine code. Native code is a CPU specific executable code. So whenever just-in-time compilation occurs, when resources are used from your applications at runtime, by using the JIT, the CLR can cache code that is used more than once and reuse it for subsequent calls without going through the compilation process again. As I already told you that from when we firstly develop an application, it starts from the source code and ends at the output. When next time same application we want to execute the same application, then it starts from the portable executable file, that is which is the cached code, then again starts from just in compiler. So by this way we can save the execution time, and we can decrease the execution time of any applications. So what an JIT process, just-in-time process, contains? In case of just-in-time, .NET assembly, class loader, assembly resolver, IL to PE conversion. Firstly, what does it does? It contains the assembly resolver, required assemblies, and then it reloads all the required classes. After reloading, after providing the each and functions locations where it is going to be executed, it is converted into the IL to PE, that is portable executable file. Then in case of portable executable file, we have two things, one is IL code and one is managed code. Then again CPU converts it, CPU executes it, and again IL to PE conversion takes place. So let us start with the common language infrastructure. The CLR is the execution engine for .NET application and serves as the interface between .NET applications and operating system. The services provided by the CLR: memory management, that is automatically manage the memory; exception handling, if there is some errors occur, then we can provide the exceptions there; debugging; security at various levels, thread execution, thread if we want to develop an applications of thousands of lines of code, then we can convert it into small modules which are known as thread, and each thread is executed independently. Then it is provides the code execution, source code execution, then it provides the code